Welcome to part 4 of Always Bet on Bard, chapter 9 of a Thora Silentblade tale. The next stop on their tour of Pitted Dusk was the one that Thora had been looking forward to all day. From conversations had with some of the locals, the name of the town apparently came from the magnificent view of the sky as it filled with stars at night. It was probably no coincidence that a scientist had decided to set up shop here in town with a large device called a telescope. The dwarf had only read of such things in Becca's books, and now Thora was going to be able to visit an actual telescoparium.
"I hope we get to look at the surface of Depus tonight,"
piped up a little girl that was ahead of Thora in the entry line. The soldier couldn't help but smile at the contagious excitement of the child. The dwarf had actually hoped for something similar. Fortunately, the crowd at the telescoparium wasn't too large, and it allowed the group to enter and take their time without feeling rushed. Outside, the warm gold of the sunset sky was starting to give way to the cool indigo glow of twilight. There were few clouds to block the view, and you could feel the energy in the room begin to bubble up as the host of the event began to usher people towards the viewing area. While the others started to assemble to take a turn, Thora peeked into a small shop, which featured numerous souvenirs and literature. There were so many interesting things to read, but the dwarf's eyes settled on a tome that had not been in Mother's library, Moons of Rhyme. While all folks in Rhyme knew a little bit about the moons, rumored to be the birthplace of the gods, there was little need for the people under the mountain to talk about the objects in the sky. Thora had read enough surface-dweller books to know the names of the three moons, Jumani, Depus, and Irada. However, this small book went into so much more detail. Carefully designed artistic renditions of the three moons were throughout the book, highlighting the various sizes of Jumani and its sisters, also including the different paths that they took across the sky. Thora had never known that Irada was so small compared to the others, or that it traveled in a completely different direction, appearing to move up and down in the sky. Thora missed most of the scientists' explanations of the evening constellations, but quickly made the way to the telescope when it was available to take a turn at stargazing. The soldier needed to use the children's step stool to get a good look, but when Thora's eyes pressed against the eyepiece, an audible gasp escaped the dwarf's lips. There they were, in all their glorious brilliance. The rhythm of Thor's heart quickened. It was almost impossible to pull away. Coughed the astronomer, interrupting Thora's gazing. "Next turn." The dwarf pulled away with reluctance, wondering if getting back in line was an option, but they still needed to get to the party's goal this evening. It had been a truly amazing experience to have in the midst of all the other business of the last few weeks. "Now, just remember, everyone," called out the scientist as everybody assembled to leave. "Come back in 3 months' time for the biggest event of the century. For the first time in 300 years, all of our moons will align in a celestial marvel that most in Rhyme will never see again." Thora wondered if they would be able to be back in Pitted Dusk by then, but was also intrigued by the historical past of this. The book from the souvenir shop didn't mention much about the last time this lunar alignment event had happened. Something at the back of the dwarf's mind was signaling concern. Had Thora read something about this in one of Becca's books? Or perhaps it had been Uncle Belgar who had told of it. He had certainly seen much in his travels. Perhaps tomorrow Thora could find a place with some historical records here in town.